Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hello everyone and welcome to your English class. In our lesson today, we will continue with our first unit, which is titled, Did You Hurt Yourself? Our lesson today is a writing lesson in your books, page 12 and 13. All you need for the lesson today is your books, page 12 and 13 for the writing lesson, a sheet of paper and a pen to take down your notes. Before we start with our lesson, you had a homework from the previous lesson, the reading lesson. It was about choose one of the stories and write a report on it. So you will write one report about, you will choose one of the 8 stories. You will write about what happened, when it happened, and who was involved. For me, I have chosen one of the stories. When did it happen? It was in November 1972. Who was involved? He was actually Bob Hale. Then what happened? Here you're going to write just very short sentences, notes. So you can say, the main and the backup parachute failed to open. He dropped about 900 meters and hit the ground face first. The result? What happened as a result? As a result, he got up and walked away with only minor injuries. So all you're going to do, choose one of the 8 stories and analyze it, come up with a report answering these questions. You don't need to write sentences. All you need is to write notes. For our writing lesson today, by the end of today's lesson, you will be able to take notes on a written text. Also, you will be able to write an account on an accident. So at the beginning, we will analyze an accident story. Then you're going to come up with an account of an accident. So let's get started in here. We're speaking actually, if you still remember from the discussion lesson, we have said that what is the most common type of accidents that is in Saudi Arabia. It is actually, as we have agreed together, as we have read, it is the idea of car accidents. Every one day we're losing 20 persons because of a car accident. According to the traffic directorate, they are saying that accidents according to age in Saudi Arabia, and based on this pie chart, you can tell that how many car accidents, those who are responsible, who is responsible for more car accidents. These are the 18, 10, 20, 25, and 27. These are the percentage. And let's read the key together. Those people who are under 18 years old, those who are in their 20s, in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. From this pie chart, what can you tell? Who is responsible for the highest number of car accidents? As it is clear here, the orange part, they are people on their 20s, 21, 25, 29. These are having more car accidents, and the least we're having those who are on their 50 years old, 50 maybe or older. So the younger the people, the more car accidents we are having. Okay. Now, in your books, page 12, we are going here to listen, and while you can trace in your books, page 12, you are going to listen to an accident, and all I want you to tell me, what kind of accidents is it? Is it a car accident, a falling accident? Did they have injuries? Listen and tell about the type of the accident. Let's listen together.
The accident. It was morning and my older brother was driving me to school. Suddenly, a speeding car crashed into us at an intersection and threw us into a telephone pole. I was, fortunately, wearing my seatbelt, but I still managed to hit my face on the dashboard. I was unconscious for some time and woke up as I was taken out of the car and put into an ambulance. The driver of the car that hit us was also in the ambulance. I heard him say he was 90 years old. I was 15, scared to death and likely to end up with a scarred face for life. I started yelling, "Please stop driving! Stop driving!" I could not stop. I don't know what happened to the man, I never saw him again. I was released from hospital 2 weeks later. Since then I have always been a cautious driver and advised others to be careful.
So, in here, what kind of accidents the speaker has written this text about? It is actually about a car crash. Two cars crash to each other, so it's actually a car accident. We're having two cars, one was speeding and the other, it hit the other one. Now we will listen one more time, but this time you will listen for details. I want you to come with the answers for these questions. What happened? When it happened? Where it happened? How it happened? You describe the reason. Who caused it? Who was the reason for this accident? Who it happened to, the other characters, and why it happened. So you will listen and come up with the answers for these. It's the part of a report. Let's listen again.
The accident. It was morning and my older brother was driving me to school. Suddenly, a speeding car crashed into us at an intersection and threw us into a telephone pole. I was, fortunately, wearing my seatbelt, but I still managed to hit my face on the dashboard. I was unconscious for some time and woke up as I was taken out of the car and put into an ambulance. The driver of the car that hit us was also in the ambulance. I heard him say he was 90 years old. I was 15, scared to death and likely to end up with a scarred face for life. I started yelling, "Please stop driving! Stop driving!" I could not stop. I don't know what happened to the man, I never saw him again. I was released from hospital 2 weeks later. Since then I have always been a cautious driver and advised others to be careful.
So what happened in here? What happened is actually car crashed into us, threw us into a telephone pole, and I hit my face on the dashboard. Notice here, we're not writing complete sentences. These are actually notes. So if you say one of these, it will be enough. The car crashed into us, or a car threw us into a telephone pole, or I hit my face on the dashboard. One of these is going to be enough. When it happened. Now we're looking for when. Time. It happened in the morning. It was early in the morning. Then, where it happened, the place. Did he mention a name of a city? No. But he mentioned the place on the way to school. And also he mentioned at the intersection, the area where two cars will meet each other. On the way to school. They were going to school at the intersection. How it happened. How it happened, a speeding car didn't stop at the intersection. So we're having two cars, one of them was driving too fast. A speeding car, it didn't stop at the stop sign at the intersection, so it hit their car. Who caused it? Who was the reason? We're having the speeding car. It was driven by a 90-year-old driver. So a driver, we can describe him as being 90-year-old. Who it happened to? The other characters in the story, the driver and his brother. So we're having someone who's driving. Next to him, the passenger is his brother, who is actually the writer in here. Why it happened? Why do we have the whole story? The reason behind it, because the 90-year-old driver didn't stop at the intersection, plus he was driving too fast. So these are the parts for writing a report on an accident. So some of the words that were mentioned, we have said intersection. What do I mean when I say intersection? When you are on the road, we're having sometimes here two cars are meeting each other. One is coming from the right and the other one coming from the left. We should, at this corner, we should have a stop sign. So it is the meeting point where two lines or streets cross. So the crossing between two streets. Everyone should stop and give priority to the others. So there is a traffic light at the intersection. Sometimes it's a traffic light, other times it is actually a stop sign. Next, he hit his head on at the dashboard. What do we mean by the dashboard? It is actually the panel facing the driver on a vehicle or an aircraft containing instruments and controls. When you are in the car, we're having this is the glass, and here we're having the wheel. This panel, we call it the dashboard. You're having the air conditioner in there, we're having the audio system and all the things. This is the dashboard. So he looked at the clock on the dashboard. You can find the clock always is on the dashboard. One more word we have had, unconscious. I was unconscious. What is unconscious? The un here is for negative, conscious and unconscious. Not awake and aware of and responding to one's environment. Maybe he fainted. He couldn't remember anything that happened. He woke up in the hospital. They say the boy was beaten unconscious. When he was someone bet him or hit him, he was unconscious. He couldn't remember. He was a kind of asleep. He fainted. Let's try to use these words: dashboard, intersection, and unconscious. He didn't stop at the stop sign at, where can we find stop signs? You can find them at intersections. So he hit another car and hit his head on the other car. Part of your car is the dashboard. He was wet but woke up in the hospital. The opposite of waking up is unconscious. So he was unconscious, not aware of what's happening around him. Okay, now let's speak about in your books, page 13, here the core of our lesson, which is writing an accident account. What is actually an accident account and who is going to write it? Actually, an accident account can be written by an eyewitness. You can write it if you see an accident. You can write an accident account. You will report what you have seen. Or you are a participant. Maybe the accident, God forbid, happened to you. So you will report to the police, to the ambulance, to anyone about what happened to you. So who is the writer of the accident account? Eyewitness, someone who saw maybe the accident, or a participant, could be the victim or the one who did the accident. Who are you going to write it to? You're writing it for official or formal purposes, might be to the police, to the hospital. That's why we're having certain characteristics for this account. What are you going to write? You will only write the important facts. So are you going to write everything? No. Not everything, not opinions. Write facts and very important facts. If you want to describe the car, you will not say a fancy car. You will say a car, give the palette number. You will tell about the color, whether it is old or new. If you know the model number, you can tell. The information that is important and not what you think. It is a fact, not opinion. Also, the length. Is it going to be long? Not really. This is something that is official. It should be short, concise, and focused. That's why we're saying not every information. No. The important information, because we want it to be focused, concise, and short. The police officers are not maybe free. They don't have enough time to read long essays. Next, we're having connection. So, because, although, and etc. and others. Any connection to me that will make your sentences short, just use them. It will be helpful in this situation. Who are going to read your writing, the accident account? Actually, the police officers, to visualize the events. You are making it very short, important events, so anyone who would read it will come up with a picture of what happened during the accident. because they can't see the accident again, so you are giving them a vivid picture of what happened. Okay, now we're going to speak about the accident in here, and we will fill this out. You will find this chart in your book's page 13 about the accident that is mentioned on page 12. Okay, so the accident, we can call it, give it a title, a car crash. We're having two cars, one was speeding, then it hit the other one, so it's actually a car crash. How it happened? You will come up with very short sentences. Choose the short sentences to describe what happened, the most important ideas. So I have chosen here, a speeding car didn't stop at the intersection and crashed into us. You can say, a speeding car crashed into us, a speeding car didn't stop at the intersection. This is the most important part. It's not what happened to you, how it happened. Next, now here we're speaking about who was involved, when did it take place, where did it take place, and why. Let's come up with the answers. Who was involved? The characters, a 90-year-old driver, the writer who is writing the report, and his brother who is the driver of the other car. These are the people involved. When did it take place? In the morning. You have to mention. Maybe if it were at night, maybe there is no enough light so people can see. So the time is important. Where did it take place? On the way to school or at the intersection? At the intersection will be a very specific information and important one. Why did it happen? Now you will tell about the reason. The 90-year-old driver was driving too fast and didn't stop at the intersection. So this is the information that are needed here. And from this you will come up with the other ones, which is the account of an accident. There is no need to mention how you felt, what happened at the result, whether you went to the hospital or what happened, because you want the police officers or the officials to come up with a judgment. Now, in your book's page 13, now it is your turn. Exercise C. Have you ever seen or attended an accident? Have you ever recently heard or read about an accident? Write a short account of an event. We will choose something that we are all familiar with, and I have chosen to write about the drag race crash. Drag race crash, which is from the reading lesson. It happened to Phil Lamatina. We all have read it. If you haven't, if you don't remember it, just go back and read Phil Lamatina's The Australian Man Drag Race Crash in the reading lesson. So this is our title, The Drag Race Crash. But before we start the writing, we have to go over the writing process. We're going to write, and our topic is going to be the drag race crash. How are we going to start writing? Is it going just to come up with your ideas? No. The first step is the planning step. You have to plan. I am going to write an account of an accident. You know what you are going to write, the final result. And what am I going to write about? About the drag race crash, which happened to Phil Lamatina. Now I have my own plan. Then we will come to the drafting. Drafting, you will start writing your own ideas. These are actually not final. Then we will come up with the editing. You will change the ideas, the order of the ideas, maybe the grammar, the spelling. You will come up now with more complete sentences. Then we will have revising. Just leave it for a moment, then come up with a fresh eye and read it again, so you will revise it. You will find your own mistakes. Then by the end, you will finish it up, publish it. It means you are going to say, this is the final result. You can give it to your teacher and you can publish it. So this is the writing process. Okay, speaking about the accident, the title for our accident is actually Drag Race Crash. You can refer to the reading, but this time we're going to make it shorter. Drag Race Crash. How it happened. Let's come with just the most important steps. What happened in here? Actually, Phil was racing down the track. His car became airborne, split in two, burst into a fireball. This is what happened in the accident. So at the beginning he was racing, then it split in two, became airborne, and also burst into a fireball. These are the most important things that happened in the story. Now let's fill out these: who, when, where, and why. Who was involved in this story? We're having actually only Phil Lamatina. When did it happen? Do we have any dates? It happened actually in September 2007. Where did it take place? In Brisbane, Australia, at the drag race. And why it happened? Because he was driving at over 500 kilometers per hour. Maybe you can come up with any reason that you believe it is the reason. Okay, now we can put our ideas in order. I want to come up with the order of these ideas. September 2007, Phil Lamatina in a drag race, Brisbane, Australia. At the beginning, always start introducing your ideas, followed by the other idea, which is the car became airborne, split in two, burst into a fireball. So now I am describing the accident. Next, he burned only the tips of his fingers. So all you need is tell about the result. Is this a completely written paragraph? No. We can't write it this way. We have to organize it to turn these ideas into sentences. So how can we join these three ideas, September, Phil Lamatina in a drag race, Brisbane, Australia, into one sentence? I can write, in September 2007, Phil Lamatina escaped death when he was driving at over 500 kilometers per hour in a drag race in Brisbane, Australia. Notice that this is only one sentence. I am using one sentence to gather all the information together. I want it to be short. The second, the car became airborne, split in two, and burst into a fireball. How can you change it into a sentence? I will write, Phil was racing down the track when his car became airborne, split in two, and burst into a fireball. He knocked out, but he survived. I added some of the result. What happened as a result? He was knocked out. He was hurled out of the car. Next, he burned only his fingertips. So we will say, although he was in the midst of the fireball, Phil was burned only on the tip of his finger. So here I have used although as well. Now we are going to follow the writing rules to come up with our own account. Always make sure that you are coming with related ideas, things that are related to the main idea. If you want to organize your ideas into paragraphs, each one paragraph should contain only one idea. Grammar. Make sure that you are using the correct tense, whether all present or if it is a story, it should be in the past. Check your spelling at the editing and the revising part. Capitalization. If you want to know more about capitalization, you will follow the mint rule, whether they are names, whether they are the I letter, or any others. Punctuations, the full stops, commas, question marks, and these things. Okay, let's go back to now. We will come up with our account of an accident. At the beginning, in September 2007, Phil Lamatina escaped death when he was driving at over 500 kilometers per hour in a drag race in Brisbane, Australia. Notice I have started with a capital letter. I used here a comma. The name is in the capital, the L in here, and we're having as well Brisbane, comma, then we're having the name of the country, ended up with a full stop. This is how to write a correctly punctuated capitalization. Next, the second sentence. Phil was racing down the track when his car became airborne, split in two, and burst into a fireball. He was knocked out, but he survived. Let's notice we started with a capital letter, and when we're having a series of action, instead of saying and, we are going to use commas and end each sentence with a full stop. Never start a new line for a new sentence. Although he was in the midst of the fireball, Phil was burned only the tips of his finger, and I ended it up with a full stop in here. So when you are writing an account of an accident, you need to check this table for these categories. At the beginning, you will check whether you can take notes when I think about things. I select important facts and or details, not everything. Write about feelings. Form and write clear sentences. Also make sure that you connect events, reasons and causes. Use although, so and because. You can edit and correct your mistakes. And also describe the scene in an imaginary matter. When you are describing, visualize the events. And by the end, use appropriate style and language. Use formal language in this case. For your homework, write an account of an accident. Choose any accident, whether it happened to you or you have read about it, or you can refer to the reading lesson and write an account of an accident. I guess that is it for the lesson today, and thank you so much for your time.